Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to my first impressions of Children of Morta. This is a Diablo 2 meets Binding of Isaac roguelite, and I say roguelite in the lightest, the absolute lightest sense of the world. If you don't like roguelites, still give this game a shot, because the only thing this game has going for it, for being a roguelite, is the procedural generation, that levels are randomly generated as you re-enter them and play them. So yeah, it's a Diablo-like in the sense you have the dripping atmosphere, you have the action RPG combat, you have the diverse enemies, you have, I guess, a guy who's kind of like Deckard Cain, the narrator. But then you also have the passive abilities that you gain over the course of the dungeon, and the active ones that increase your power. So instead of loot, like in Diablo, you have the Bindings of Isaac system, where you just kind of grow and grab all these passes. But you also have an RPG system too, unlike Binding, so it's a interesting mix-up. So you keep that procedural generation without having to design armor and weapons for, you know, every character, and which you, of course, can swap to between missions. Right now I'm playing as Kevin, the stealth dagger thief-like character. So he's got a low sense of health, but he can do a lot of critical damage as of right now, and he's also very fast. So if I actually build up this blue bar underneath my character, I can actually deal damage very quickly. And I can use my dodge rolls, so the blue bar represents, for this character in particular, how, you know, my build-up meter for fast attacks, and other characters it would just be stamina. And that orange bar represents my dodge, so I can actually dodge 3 times as the thief before having to wait for a recharge, which is very nice. Alright. So this is one of the perks that you can get. So right now I'm using a Fan of Knives penetrates enemy ruin, which is this thing right here. It's sort of slimming down. So if I do that, it'll, you know, reduce on that bar. Fan of Knives explodes on impact, damaging nearby enemies. We're gonna get that because we'll get a full bar of that, which is cool. Every time you get something, you unlock it in the codex, so you can kind of reference it, and the game also has a tooltip menu if you hit C, so there's always that sense of knowing, like, what you're getting, like, what you're using, and what your current objective is. Right now, we're investigating the caves. This is the first area in the game. Well, it's the second part of the first area. And then we have to find various medicinal ingredients to save the wolf cub. So when I was playing the game, I found this. Actually, this is the very first level. I'm just kind of showing off Kevin's skills right here. But when I was exploring in the game, I actually found these interesting side objectives. So sometimes it's an escort quest, sometimes it's just an unlock straight up, or you have to fight like a set of enemies and save this wolf cub. I don't know what this is going to do later on. Maybe I'll get a new companion or some perks every time I enter the dungeon, but the goal here is to find some ingredients. I did find one. I need to find, I think, another one. Okay, that's the next area up ahead. We're not going to go there just yet. Once you unlock this stairway to the next level, you can hit T to teleport to this little spot right here, which is very, very convenient on time and possibly getting yourself out of a pinch. And sometimes you'll be greeted with these little areas right here. Okay, so in this case, we got a Divine Relic. So this adds another item to our slot that we can use freely, so we can just do this. And this will just buff us up. Looks like that might have restored health, not quite sure, but hey, it's on cooldown. Ah, it does. Oh, only in that area, though, so that's interesting. Might be useful for a boss. It's got a big area of effect. There's also traps that you gotta watch out for in this. There's the spikes. Sometimes you can trigger traps to kill enemies, which is nice. Obelisk instantly heals. We're going to take that. These you unlock a little bit later, but they basically put up these obelisks randomly generated throughout the dungeon, and they can give you various perks and rewards. Sometimes it increases your gold. Sometimes you can have like more defense, and that time it just straight up heals you, which is nice. Let's try out these explosives. Oh, that's very nice. Health drops, and it stays on the map, which is very convenient in case you need to run back and get them. Obviously, you want to heal up a lot, because at the end of each one of these areas, there is a boss to fight, and they are quite fun. So, The game itself is, you know, combination of Diablo and Bindings of Isaac. You have a set of passive abilities for Bindings of Isaac and that roguelike element, but you also have that atmosphere and that exploration sense like in Diablo 2, as well as some similar combat. So, what is it that's keeping you playing? So, in a game like this, you have very, very basic combat, unless you spend a lot of time grinding and leveling up your abilities, which are indicated right here. Now, the cool part about this game is that, unlike some other roguelites, is that you do have more abilities per character, and you do have a selection of characters. So, I'm playing as Kevin the Thief-like character, but there's also an archer, there's a swordsman, there's a fighter, like a kung fu fighter, and as you level them up, you can get these various skills in these trees. So this one, Guardian Rage, if I hold left control, I can do a bunch of frenzy attacks just on the fly without having to build it up. And then Shadow Cloak, that's invisibility with the ability to do extra damage and basically have the ability to kill weaker enemies, which is cool. But then you have these perks right here, which you get automatically as you progress through the skill tree. Sharp Kid. Kevin instructs the rest of the family on where the weakest parts of the enemies are, increasing the family's critical damage. So what's cool is that, let's say you get a new character, you want to play as him. He starts out at level 0, which kind of sucks because you might want to play him on the latest, like, level. But if you level him up, you can get these perks that go for everyone in the family. So you can start, you know, at level 0, and maybe you can get a little bit further than you were the first time playing. One, because, you know, you've been playing the game for a bit, you know what you're doing now. And two, well, you have all these new perks that you didn't have access before, so these nice passives. Family members getting Kevin's ability to ease ruins. Kevin appears when his family members are hit by a ferocious enemy to perform his execute 3-minute cooldown. Refined Edge. Kevin teaches the family technique he has continued to develop to maximize efficiency. I couldn't have butchered that sentence up more. Further increasing the family's critical damage. So yeah, there's incentive to level each character. Yeah, you're going to be doing the same thing over and over again, which is a bit of a problem in a game like this where, I mean, you're saying this, right? You have 1, 2, and then maybe a third ability active at a time. It kind of sucks, to be honest. I'm kind of sick of roguelites just being very bare bones on this. It is nice that you do have extra characters, but I would rather have one good character than a bunch of them. However, what's cool about this game is the story going on in the background. Basically, you are a family, a generational family that has stopped evil, and there's this corruption coming in from this big mountain that you have to stop, and you basically get new characters, new members of your family to, you know, group up to stop this corruption. There's objectives in this game to unlock them and unlock more parts of the dungeon, and, like, you know, as you unlock more parts of the dungeons, as you do objectives, you get these little insights into the family, how they interact with each other, their own story, their own personal stories, and it's actually pretty wholesome at times. It can be a little dark, but it's very touching. I do like it a lot, and the narrator, who you'll probably hear a little bit later, does add quite a bit of flair to the game. I really enjoy the atmosphere and the storytelling in this game. It's not something crazy, like, it's not some interesting end-of-the-world scenario. It's very generic so far, but a chance to attack in all directions at maximum frenzy. Oh, okay. Neat. Oh, so that's a little circle thing. That's cool. Alright. See, the passives can make it very interesting, and that's kind of what's keeping me going right now, because, in terms of the combat, because when I first started playing this game, when I had to start redoing my first set of levels, oh my god, dude, I just, I was getting kind of bored with it. The archer lady that I was playing as, she's a very generic character in that she just shoots arrows. Chance to attack in all... Oh, that's actually just a temporary ruin. That kind of sucks. Effect will increase damage, also while increasing attack speed. I'm gonna try that one. We get this Obelisk of Fortune to increase our income. But yeah, the archer lady that I was playing as, which I'll show you in a minute, she's fine. There's nothing wrong with, like, her playstyle, but it's very dodge, shoot, dodge, shoot, and this is kind of the same thing. But you do kind of get up close, and you gotta be wary of those telegraphed attacks. Archer lady, you can kind of just shoot from a distance and play it very safe. And it's recommended because she doesn't have a lot of health, and, yeah, her stamina can kind of drop fairly quickly. These things right here, they kind of suck you into the center. Alright, let's try to get through this dungeon. So we're in Silk Caverns 2 out of 2. We pull up our map here. There's going to be a boss at the end of this one. We just got to find it with that little way gate. But we might find a secondary objective. Oh, here's the way gate. Oh, and here's the shopkeeper. You have to unlock him first. So, return to maximum health at the start of a new floor. Well, I mean, that's not going to be too useful here. Damage enemies burn in fire. So, these little crystals right here are the only ways you can buy from this merchant. The only things you lose in a dungeon when you die are those crystals. But they're only used for events in the dungeon so far. So, yeah, not much of a loss there. Enemies damages enemies. Poisons damaged enemies. I think we'll get this for the boss. Alright, and we want to be careful with how much of this rune power we have right now, because we want to keep it in check. I could smash those pots over there, but I don't want to deplete this bar, because I really want to use it for the rest of the enemies on this floor, and then possibly, if I can still save some of it, for the boss as well. Okay. Because we still have to collect gold. I'm not too concerned about killing the boss because this is the level 1 boss, but hey, I do want to get all the gold that he drops. And the XP. We're also here to collect Herbalist's stuff for that wolf pup, so if we can find it here. It isn't very clear on where in the dungeon you can get certain items and upgrades. Like for those side objectives, like that wolf pup, but I have a feeling that, you know, it'll say, like, hey, it's in the first dungeon, so it'll be in the first dungeon. And hey, I think that's actually an herb right there. So that's cool.
There could not have been a more perfect description of this root than its name. Cave web. Rather bland to the taste, still edible, and full of nutrients.
Alright, cool. We might need another item. I'm not sure yet. Figure that out. There's no time limit or anything like that. There's no severe consequences for kind of taking your time getting through a dungeon. It's pretty relaxing. Pretty comfy. Again, the combat is very, very simplistic, but the story, the story of the family, the gameplay, like, atmosphere, some of the combat, like, in terms of, like, the power-ups, does give it an interesting edge, and I do like it quite a bit. Alright, we got a journal. Okay, missing caravan continued. Evening. Caravan found. Delia joined Drake and myself in searching. It feels like the good old days. Oh, I'm sorry. I've already read that. The caravan went missing several days ago due to the cave's proximity to the grove. Drake called in that favor I owed him. Maybe now he can let that whole fiasco in the Barren Sea go. Rhea, forgive me for thinking wood would float on water, but I digress. We continue the search of the caravan in the morning. So yeah, you're exploring these caves, you're picking up these journals. This is of your previous family. I think it's the grandmother's grandfather, not quite sure. So you have a big old family that just has explored these areas before. And we'll actually see them in a second. Be able to switch to another character and show you more of the other perks and systems. As you collect gold, by the way, you don't lose it when you die, and you can use that to get passives, like basically armor and attack upgrades that go to everyone in the family. So that's nice. You don't have to do like just level up one character so much and just do all the same crap over and over again. You can have everything kind of just spill over and split among everyone else, whether it be through skills or buying upgrades. Okay, let's go up here, and we just gotta find something else. I know there's a little bit more to this area. So this bar at the bottom, as you get kill streaks, you can get a little bit more gold, but it's really only like 10 per every, what is it? yeah, 10 per every 10 kills, so... Oh, Jesus. Movement speed increased, that's going to be kind of useful. Okay, we got a health potion. Nice, we got 2 of them, in fact. Alright, let's go up here. So yeah, skeleton enemies, bats, your typical monster enemies. I mean, they don't have, like, the most generic designs, though. I do like the spiders right here. But they're very basic. Like, you kind of dispatch them so far in the same way you dispatch the other enemies. You kind of either get in close or take them out for rage, depending on your class. A protector that provides armor and occasionally negates all incoming damage. Cool. It's a good passive. That was worth coming up here for. The enemies don't really change it up too much. It's not like Warlock's 2 Godslayers, where you do actually have to change up your playstyle a little bit. They'll use their environment to their advantage. I mean, here it's like this fully isometric area. You have plenty of room to dodge. We're gonna get Guardian Rage right here. That's gonna give us that frenzy bonus. Oh, you know what? We could actually get the cloak too. I didn't notice that. Okay, so try that out. Cool. Just stealth for you right there. Okay, did we explore the whole area? Down here? Yeah, we did. Okay. Let's go fight that boss. Then I can show you some of the characters, and then we can wrap it up. So before every boss fight, you can get some gold right here. Maybe a perk or some items. Frenzy effect will increase critical chance. Well, okay, cool. Always break the pots. Play it like Zelda. Okay. A little bit of gold. No health, but we didn't really need it, so let's get into it.
All 8 eyes studied the one so willing to walk into their own tomb.
This boss is a little tricky when you first fight him, but there is a pattern. Basically, when he jumps up, he will slam back down after, you know, hanging around. So you'll hang right here, and you just gotta be ready. There you go, see? Then he'll spawn enemies, or web in that case. Oops. Obviously, if you do some grinding, the bosses become less and less difficult because, hey, you're increasing your character's stats. So, the roadblock is not necessarily, like, insanely hard difficulty, nor is it, like, skill leveling. It's just, you know, it's not min-maxing. It's just a combination of skill and RPG elements. So, of course, you could probably beat this boss at a very early level. In fact, he's pretty early as well. It depends on the class, really. Some classes are just going to do better, depending on the boss. The next boss after this is actually 2, I believe? And you just kind of, like, kill them one at a time.
When training and sparring war on the mind, the occasional game of ball between father and son could be the ideal break.
Yeah, as you can see, those animations are very, very detailed, and everyone has, like, a set of idle animations as well. It's really, really nice to see. So you have the household right here, and everyone has their own little personality, and it's conveyed fairly well through the story. Alright, so let's look at our upgrades right here. So we have Ben's Workshop. This is the uncle character's little place of upgrading. And as you progress the story, you can unlock more of these little things right here. But for now, we have, you know, Swiftness, increase the Bergeson's movement speed, and that applies to the entire family, as I've mentioned before, which is very nice. You have Armor Up, which we're probably going to get right here. Attack Damage, Precision, Critical Strike, and then that's the Chance, and then Hit. So That's pretty good. So there's the damage of the critical attack and then the chance of hit. We're going to get the armor, though, because that's very beneficial for the weaker characters. Then you have the Book of Ray, so I believe as you progress through the dungeons, the grandma character will appear randomly, and she'll find, like, these artifacts or these things on the wall, and they'll be unlocked. So, Runic Knowledge unlocks runes for various slots, increases runes' durability. So that's like, you know, I'll be able to use those special powered-up weapons a little bit longer. Obelisk Remembrance, so those buffs you can get on the battlefield, those can last a little longer. They already last a fairly lengthy amount of time. I mean, you usually clear out most of a room and then get to the boss, so that's fine. More of drop from enemies, that's pretty much the gold, so we're actually going to get that, because that's very, very useful, as you can imagine. And then we're going to spend the rest on Warfare for attack damage, and we don't really have enough for the critical chance, so we're just going to leave it at that. Here's your library. You could, of course, access this in the game, though. Yeah, there's some harrowing stuff in here, but some interesting little bits of information. You get the backstory to all the characters, and it's actually kind of good to read. I like it. I like the wholesome family vibe.
The past holds both the joy and bitterness of time. Sheila could help them, as John said, but Ben could not bring himself to overlook the sting of their past relationship.
Yeah, it's a nice, comfy atmosphere you got going on here, but also there's that encroaching doom from the corruption. It's coming in. It's even shown, like, right here. And there's all kinds of little events that you can interact with around here. Get more sense of the story. I really like that. It's really nice. It's kind of keeping me playing, and I do think the combat is improving a little bit as I go. But only by so much. Alright, let's pick a character. So these are the last two, right here. And, you know, we have the bow character right here, the father, the older brother fighter, the younger brother we just played as, he's level 6 now. Lyndall's level 8. She has this corruption fatigue right now from, I think, dying too much. But let's actually try her out right now and show you what I was talking about a little earlier. Loading times are fairly quick. Alright, we're in the Lost Trenches. This is where the goblins are, and they have a lot of ranged enemies, so you have to be careful of that. Family lookout. Family members gain explosive crescendo runes for their various abilities. So yeah, this right-click ability that I had before now does explosive damage, which is very, very helpful. The blue bar is her stamina while moving. If she stands still, she can actually do a little bit more damage with the perk I've acquired, but she shouldn't really do that too often because, as you can see, these guys move on you quickly. And it's kind of a problem with a lot of these roguelikes. They kind of throw a lot of cannon fodder at you, and this game at least makes the attempt with the ruins and power-ups to make it satisfying to kill lots of enemies. But you don't have a whole lot of weight to the attacks, and if you've played a lot of roguelikes, this one might at least give you something new to do, because it is nice with that family story, like the various characters. The atmosphere is great, but the combat is still a little bit simplistic. I'd say it's better than Warlock's Godslayers, but you don't have the interesting boss fights that game had. You know, there are... And that game's not even a roguelike, technically. But, I don't know. It's... The objectives are giving it a nice edge. You're not doing the same thing every time. You're looking forward to seeing those objectives, to do them, and to, like, unlock different parts of the game. Ooh, okay. This looks like a rune in here. So this is a wave-based area. So speaking of little different things, that's actually kind of cool. But yeah. Children of Morta. It's a fun game. I like it a bit. Is it worth 20 bucks? Well, that's going to depend on your preferences. Do you like the dripping atmosphere of Diablo with the roguelike of elements of Bindings of Isaac? Do you look for more in your roguelike, like, more like, you know, punishing deaths? Well, I personally don't. I don't care for that stuff. In fact, I can do without it. It's not wholly original. but it is a very fun game, and it's very fun, in short bursts. Which is how I'm playing it right now. You know, put in about 2 hours every playthrough. It's fun. Until you start dying a lot, and then it gets a little bit frustrating. Like that. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. I'm out.
I need your help, Sheila. It's not for me. Come to aid the family. For Mary and her children. And so, Ben's letter ended. His doubts showing, he contemplated his relationship with Aurea, the emotional and single-minded Sheila. Why had they ended? The question still unanswered.